Welcome to another episode of my podcast That's Fine With Me. Today we're talking about leaked labs again, because there's so much feedback, there's so much backlash, and we're discussing. I have a lot of comments from people sharing their concern, not a lot, but like from my channel, quite a lot of comments, people sharing their thoughts and opinion, and that is the main reason why we're going to leave some commentary on certain videos in today's podcast. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on what is going on and probably refer to some of my old podcasts that I did related to this topic. Let's get started. The first video that is quite weird in my opinion, and I didn't touch on the subject, is the way it was presented to use this product in general. Let's watch it real quick, guys.
This is Flexi Dry. This is Flexi Amplified. 1 pump of setting spray.
That's so crazy that you can get that effect.
It's cool. This copper tone has less pearl than the silver. Every disc is a little bit different because every pearl is a little bit different.
Okay, so they did actually address a concern about the thickness and pearls. They're going to be different in this flexi powder. And the weirdest part was that they were doing their swatches on the forehead. But I guess it's pretty obvious that whenever you do any swatches of any eyeshadows, most of the time you're going to use your hand. So it doesn't really matter if you use your forehead or if you use your hands. The only question that I have is that because of the flexi powder, and they're saying that you can, it's not breaking, whatever, I wanted to see how it's going to perform when you fold this maybe and try to use in the inner corner of the eye. And they did show it, but it was a little bit messy in my opinion, and it was really hard to transfer the product. Now when she used a little bit of a fix and spray, straightforward, she used the product on top of the forehead, you could see the patchy kind of like feeling that you did get a lot of moisture, but you didn't get enough product, and it was quite sheer. So she had to go over like 2 or 3 times with the swatches to make sure that it has very good reflection or it's pigmented enough. That is the main reason why I was like, I did not mention this in my previous podcast. That is the main reason why I just wanted to address this in today's video. So the second video that I'm going to be discussing and talking from another TikToker, and all of the names and their channel names you're going to see on the screen, and I'm not hiding anything. That is the main reason why, guys, if you're interested, you can watch the full videos from TikTok, the original authors.
The gold is the thickest one. I would love to know why that is. Looked online on the Leaked Labs website and how to use it, reading their FAQ, and there's actually no instruction on how to clean these products. I'm guessing that we can clean it with alcohol.
If I'm not mistaken, the first concern of the Smiling Josie, if I'm correct, is the fact how to clean these flexi powders. And I guess she's asking this on the behalf of makeup artists, and if I'm not mistaken, she might be a makeup artist. And another issue that I see, that these flexi powders, they're ripping off. So as soon as they dry and she tried to take them off, because of the thin layer, and she used some product, she tried to take them off and they literally rip. And I see this concern with so many different makeup artists and with so many influencers. Once you use this powder maybe like 3 or 4 times, they're falling apart, they're melting down, and they're ripping off. This is a huge concern because for $34, it hasn't been on the market for more than a month, and these people, they should have used this almost like every single day to make sure that this is worn down as much as it's shown in the videos. And this is not presentable. I mean, a lot of the times your makeup products, such as like eyeshadow palettes, they're not going to look that worn off in real month. That is the first concern. And in her next video, she's pointing out that it's a huge problem to use alcohol. Let's listen.
And that was my whole point about the video. It just lost so much money. So much money because you created a product that cannot be properly sanitized by makeup artists. A lot of people are calling it a gimmick, and you know what? I get it.
And that is the question. The lipstick lesbians, they did address certain concerns like thickness and pearls, something they already mentioned and they already had. So in the video number 1 that I showed you guys, where they were doing some swatches, they addressed the fact that certain pearls, as they call them out, and we're going to talk about pearls later in the video. So certain pearls, they're absorbing some moisture faster or like more than other. And that is the main reason why certain, I guess, products or powder, flexi powder, is thinner than the other. But the issue that I see right here is the fact that you cannot sanitize it and you cannot use alcohol. Because if you're a makeup artist, that is very important that you make sure that the next client is not going to have any problems and issues, because the bacteria from the previous, I guess, juices of the face of a previous client can go straight to your product, and you don't really want to work with unsanitized makeup palettes or like flexi powders. And every single time makeup artists try to use alcohol, it just melts down the product. And the lipstick lesbians did not address this issue. They did address certain things that they actually mentioned in their promo, but nothing specific. And the question is that they're reformulating this flaxy powders, but people, they're like screaming out loud. Most of them, they're screaming out loud, we don't really need this product anymore. We don't really like it. We don't really think that it's innovative enough. And here comes another creator that came out and mentioned this, that innovation is not always about something that you can see and that's actually solving an issue. The innovation can be about the ingredients or maybe how this product was created in general. It doesn't have to be innovative for you in order to use it in an innovative way. It's about the way that it was created in the lab. That's about innovation. But how is it solving an issue? Is it actually solving a problem? Let's find out.
But innovation comes in different forms. It can just be a unique texture or a new way of using the product. But just because something is innovative doesn't mean it's the most practical. There is a learning curve to the Flexi Powder in order to apply it correctly and get a good amount of coverage without it looking patchy. Because of that, I don't see this as a product suitable for people who are just casual makeup fans, or for makeup artists, because the discs are so small, it's hard to clean between uses if you wanted to spray it with some 70% isopropyl alcohol, or scrape off the top so there's a fresh layer underneath.
First and foremost, he did address the fact that every single time you use a product, you have to make sure that it's dry before you put this in a container. And there's not enough amount of preservatives. They're going to keep your, I guess, moist product locked in some space, in a small space, and it's not going to cause any contamination. Well, it might be happening for certain people, it might not really be happening for other people, but there's still a risk.
When you stop to use water in a few seconds, it dries.
And that's the magic of going back from one state to the dry.
And what I found was that even after about 30 minutes, the discs were still physically damp. Not wet, but damp. But the color payoff was acting as if they were dry.
Another great point that he addressed is that it's probably not a product for a casual person or casual fan, or it's not a product for a makeup artist. Then who is going to be able to use this product? I believe only influencers and people that are really obsessed with makeup in general, or someone who's creating some interesting looks and knows how to use certain products. And by that, I mean makeup artists, they're not going to be able to use it because the surface is too small, and that is the main reason why every single time you spritz it with alcohol, it just melts it down. But if you don't spritz it with alcohol to sanitize it, you're not going to be able to use it for other clients, because you know that there might be some bacteria from, again, some juices of another client that you can transfer. Another issue for like a casual person that doesn't really care about the way you should store it, how to let it dry properly. It's just about the fact that I paid like $34 and I want this product to work. Okay, so I just want this to work. There's a real kind of like chance that you want to participate in some survey, but at the same time, you want this to work for you and you don't want to spend some extra time or extra ingredients or products for you to work. For example, I know that I have a couple of colors that are super shaded formulas, but at the same time, I know that they're going to work with white eye pencils. So I'm willing to work with this palette in order to create a certain look that I envision in my head. But at the same time, I don't really think there are going to be people going extra mile and paying a lot of money to use some product that hasn't been tested properly. And again, not tested in a way that preservatives and whatever, but tested among public. Is it actually solving an issue? And is it actually good to use? And I mean, like, do we really need this product? And only people can give you a feedback. So that is the reason why I don't really understand why they try to reformulate it again and sell this once again when people said, we don't really like it, we don't want this. And they're going to be, again, testing this product, paying some money to say what? Again, reformulate it. We don't like it again. And let's watch a little bit different video. I would say that is talking about darker skin tones, how it works with darker skin tones, because mainly I can see only fair complexions going and reviewing this product, but let's talk about darker skin tones.
For my actual no BS review, I always love innovative products, which is why I love Adenessa Myrix. Also here for the practicality of things. It's just like a little gross for me. And at a $34 price point for a lab sample. I'm wondering if there's a way we can launch fun, innovative products that also solve a problem and that are also practical. But let me know if you agree and what you thought about this launch in the comments.
That's a great point. That is a lab sample. You don't really have a great packaging. You don't really have marketing. You don't really have a lot of, strategy going into that. What we're seeing right now is like them going to the lab and asking like questions that people do have. But in my opinion, you should have known this before people came out with certain concerns, at least the concern with preservative systems and getting moldy or anything like this. Because like they're actually going back to Italy and they're asking this question from a scientist. Another great point is that for skin tone that is with deeper complexion, I would say it looks a little bit like with a green reflection. Silver looks like green and this muddy green. The only beautiful color that stands out is gold, and I totally get it. Monica, she mentioned that it's really pretty gold shade, but the others, they're not even visible. Like pink is not there. Silver looks like green, and it's still quite an expensive product to test around, and then you just have to know how to work with that and not to rip it off. That is the main reason why I would say that it caused a lot of backlash from people and customers. They were like, I need some answers. I want you to answer my questions. And here's the answer from our lipstick lesbians. It's not the real answer we were waiting for, but that was the answer on March 19th.
We are in Korea.
We've been beauty queens. That's why we've been a little bit MIA.
We're innovation hunting. This is how it happens. You don't just go to a trade show. You also go visit the supplier and you talk with the supplier and you have meetings and you ask them what it is that you may want to bring to life. They may have ideas. You may have ideas. For Leak Labs, both things are possible. So today at this manufacturer, it was really all about opening up the dialogue, the brainstorm, and getting to know each other. It was like a first date.
I love that.
We got to see their lab. We got to see some of their capabilities. It was awesome.
What do you have to say to the people who are watching that have been leaving a lot of comments and feedback?
I'm so pumped because the whole point of Leak Labs is working.
So they're now in Korea. What I think that they do have so much more products. They're not coming from Korea, but from other labs. And I do actually think that they have pre-scheduled certain products that are going to come out in a couple of months, like next month until the rest of 2026. But to leave the launch as it is right now and move to Korea, though I do actually think that they have something already in their schedule, because they did actually address it in a couple of their videos when they said probably we're testing these products right now. So I do really think that certain products, they're already pre-packaged and they're ready to ship them in the nearest future. That is the main reason why I think it's really important to think of your future, but this is present. And you have to address a present question and present issues. And that is the main reason why people are so concerned and they're so disappointed with the fact that they didn't get a chance to have anything answered, like basically answered. The survey wasn't conducted up until, if I'm not mistaken, the survey was when? On March 17th or something like this. They asked their opinion. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. And my point right now is the fact that they're kind of like in the middle of a mess, but they're not addressing certain issues, but they are brand owners, and that is it. Maybe they're kind of like collecting and gathering some information. I don't really know about that, and maybe they should do that before they come out, because when they did State of the Union, it actually looked aggressive and it did actually sound defensive. That is the main reason why they changed the tactics. They changed their opinion on certain issues, and they're collecting as much information as possible to give it to us. But we're still waiting. It's April. The launch was at the beginning of March. That is the main reason why we're looking for some answers. It's been like over 3 weeks, if I'm mistaken, maybe even a little bit more than 3 weeks. We need some answers.
Baby, so Aaron Parsons said that Flexi should come with a finger applicator.
You know, last year we spent months trying to figure out what to do with our
these
friends
guys.
at Tali. Let me show you Aaron and the rest of the world. Here's me brainstorming on my couch on my iPad.
March 2025.
Before.
This was
Christmas.
We started talking about it
Months
before.
before.
Yes.
I love, first and foremost, I love Erin Parsons. I think that she's a brilliant makeup artist and she is talking about certain products with the knowledge. And that is the main reason why I think that this was a really cool idea about like finger pouches and whatever. But I guess it wouldn't stand out to the fact that if you kind of like melt them or add a little bit of water or fixing spray, it just gonna get all around your finger, and you're gonna basically rip it off because it's not gonna be able to stand off the test of touching with your fingers. It is a little bit more innovative if they would have come out with this finger pouches that is getting into the corners of the eye, and when you use some fix and spray, that would solve an issue where people say, like, when I try to take it off the plate, it starts ripping off. So the pouches that are going to stay on your finger, they're not going to have this issue, in my opinion. That is quite innovative. If they came out with something like this, maybe it would have been so much better. People would have appreciated so much better. I feel like they should have done that. The question that I have, that they always want to speed up the process. They want to speed up the launch without proper testing. And that is quite an issue, because they said that because of a speeding process, they have to speed this up. That is the main idea and concern why they didn't launch this idea to the market. Let's listen.
Then I had to prepare the eyeshadow to give to the team. This is what happens. You have to work with your suppliers. You empower what you want. Now we get to see one version. Big question here was, how are we going to get Flexi to a fix? Then we thought about putting an adhesive little backing film on it to hold Flexi. But then we thought, then you lose the whole magic of Flexi being flexible. Now we're talking. We get to the place where we put Flexi into a flexible, bendable, gripping finger flop. And this would also mean we had to change the shape of Flexi. A little phallic, but nothing wrong with that.
When you do economies of scale and you can do larger order quantities, that would reduce the cost, correct? Of course. So doing it in a pilot batch like we did just made it too expensive.
Correct.
Plus then you also have to design the packaging to store it, or to store the finger flock with Flexi adherence.
Right,
so it's like
because this needed more iterations.
My question is, if they launch it with a pilot launch, it's going to be extremely expensive. That is the main reason why they stopped with their, I guess, innovation. But it was actually extremely expensive, like $34, crazy. And another question and issue that it is not gonna stand out in terms of, like, I don't really understand, like, please explain this to me. If they said that these products were already made and pre-made, I guess, in certain labs, then why would they try to redo that? I mean, I kind of get it, but at the same time, I don't really get it. I mean, I don't understand. Did they actually buy the pre-made formula, as they mentioned this earlier, or they were still creating new formulas, custom-made formulas? Because if this is a custom-made formula, it's changing everything, because a custom-made formula is actually very expensive. And if they had to work on their own formulation, this is expensive, but they can patent this. But if this is a pre-made formula, it doesn't cost that much. And that is the main reason why I don't understand where the $34 price came from. That is an issue. Maybe because it's made in Italy, and that is the main real reason why it's that expensive, because it's not made in China. I don't know. Is there going to be some kind of, like, difference if it's made in Korea, if it's made in China, if it's made in Italy or United States? And again, I have all these issues, and they did not address the price point problem where people are saying, like, it's crazy expensive. That is the main reason why we're going to my video number 8 that I actually prepared for you guys about addressing the issue. But this video, I actually don't want to comment myself a lot, because I was watching Jen Love's video and I really love her. And she was talking about something really, really important. And I don't really want to rephrase these words. I just want you to hear it from her perspective and what it really means. Let's watch video number 8 first.
So it's not possible to achieve the same thickness because of the absorption of pearls, because the thinner pearls absorb more the binder we use to achieve the flexibility, while the bigger pearls absorb less. So it's the reason why in the same packaging you can have different thicknesses depending of the color you choose.
That is about the point where if you have pearls, as they call them, pearls, they can absorb certain things. And Jen Love is making a great point that certain, they call them pearls, they're like certainly like some stones, and stones, they're not absorbing anything. And when you try to get an answer from lipstick lesbians, they didn't actually want to talk about that in depth. It's all about like giving you marketing strategy and giving you some vague formulation, but we need real ingredients and we need real examples. And let me show you what I'm talking about.
Pearl means something very specific to me, as in coming from an oyster, and that is not what is in these products. So me personally, even though it's not quite as sexy, I would rather it be called synthetic fluorphlogopite or mica or tin oxide or whatever it is that's in there, because there is no pearl on the ingredient list.
Okay, and then I will say that she's 100% correct. If we're going to talk to a scientist, I feel like a scientist should give you a scientific name, or at least put this on the screen so people that actually understand what they're talking about, they will read it through and understand what is the ingredient that is causing absorption. Okay, let's listen to some comment.
Post, instead of pearl, can you share the ingredient that she's talking about? And Leak Labs did respond, and they said, great question. When we say pearl, we're referring to effect pigments, which is a thing. We keep the exact trade names private since those specific blends are proprietary to our formula, but the thickness difference you're seeing comes from how those pearls are engineered. Some finer, some more coarse, which is why you're seeing different thickness across the shades in the Flexi base. And okay, so I responded, thanks for answering. I'm not talking about the trade names. I'm talking about the ingredients on the ingredient list. What ingredients are reacting this way? I was thinking it might be the mica, but mica is a rock, so it doesn't absorb. So I'm confused. No response yet.
I feel like what they actually meant, that certain, let's call them pearls, as they mentioned, they are a little bit bigger. So when they're bigger, they're using a little bit different quantity of active ingredients that are absorbing some moisture. And we're going to talk about other that are like finer, then some other active ingredients, they're added a little bit more and they're going to absorb some moisture a little bit more. I don't know if that's the thing. If you have any idea and you work in labs, or if you have any kind of like scientific explanation, please let me know in the comments, because I don't really understand what they actually mean by saying this. Am I hinting this in the right direction or maybe not? And that's, again, another vague explanation that I don't really understand what is the problem to actually name the ingredients. And we're not asking them to give us the quantity and the quantity of these ingredients. We're just asking for real ingredients, and they actually should give us ingredient list based on certain laws that require people to know what is an ingredient list. Maybe you can have some allergic reactions, and that's why you have to know what the ingredient is added to this product. And of course, there's going to be some other problem with the survey. They promised to do this or document this testing and to create a survey for people to participate in. Unfortunately, a lot of the times influencers, they ask each other, like, did you get any questions? Did you have anything to participate in? Like, when is going to be the time when they're asking for our opinion? And no one can answer this. And when Leak Labs finally saw the backlash for not asking this actual opinion, because remember, they told us that we were, or at least someone who purchased this product, were a focus group. So if that's a focus group, they need to ask for an opinion. And I actually see that in most of their videos, when people are saying something, not even nasty, nothing mean, they're like, what is the purpose of it? We don't need that, or whatever. They're not answering these questions. They're skipping on this comments. What they're giving their commentary on is some positive, like, yeah, we're so happy you'll launch the product. I don't understand. We're getting all this backlash. And I totally get that it's always pleasant to answer some positive commentary, but you actually have to answer some negative comments, which are not like nasty comments, but concerning comments. And I don't really want to admit this, but I did actually get certain comments criticizing my podcast related to biotech. And I maybe didn't really like them, or maybe I felt like were a little bit offensive or whatever, but I tried to give my perspective on really what happened. So even if I didn't really like these comments, it doesn't really mean that I have to skip on these comments. I try to give them my perspective, and they should do the same. It's not about like, oh, this comments I like and I'm going to answer this, and these comments I don't really like, so I'm going to skip on these comments. That is a concern for most of other people, and that is a lot of the comments that are getting on their channel. So the question right here that I'm seeing is the fact that, yeah, they're not getting any survey done. Let's listen and let's see.
Release a timeline on when to expect follow-up. Some creators, we were asking each other, have you heard from them? Have they asked you your opinion? Are we going to get a form? No one really knew what was going on. But I am interested in how they will take all of this feedback, how they'll compile it and what they'll do with it, and if they will give us a follow-up on that.
That is a question I have, and a lot of the times people have as well, is like, how are they gonna give us any feedback, and are they gonna conduct the survey, or they're just gonna collect some data and say, yeah, we studied. I mean, we really need some scientific, I guess, data or at least the analytics of this survey, because they promised us that it's going to be focus group documented in this like State of the Union. They said this is going to be first ever documented focus group or whatever. And that is the question. Why didn't they send out this form earlier, prior launch, or to participants? They had to guess and they had to wait for a couple of weeks before they actually got the document. It were like they were tested. And it's only because people raised their concern and they were asking a lot of questions. That's the issue. And finally, I promised you to show that we're going to see how many times you can actually use this product before you run out of the product. And like a certain creator was doing a very deep survey, I guess deeper than the Lipstick Lesbians or Leak Labs, and they claimed that this product can be used up to 80 times. And let's see how many times you can actually use the product before you run out of the product.
Overall, if you're wondering our final number today, we're at just a little over half of what was recommended by the brand. I clocked 42 based off of how I would personally use this. It is pretty cool seeing the product just disappear with no waste as far as packaging goes. Unfortunately, I feel like packaging is necessary.
Okay, so 42 times the creator could use it, and they claim it's going to be 80 times. So it's half of what they told you can use it. And by the way, I would say that she used it only on the back of the finger and used it only once, but it was given a lot of sheer, I guess, application. So you would probably go back with a brush or with a finger and use it a couple more times on top of your previous layer. So it actually reduces the amount of using the product to make sure that you're going to have the final, I guess, a final result of your makeup creation up to maybe like 20 times you can use it. It's nothing, especially as a makeup artist that is willing to buy something like for $34 and like they're going to be flexi powders, like 4 shades. Like how many times? It means that you can use it maybe 20 times less than a month. Sometimes you have 2 or 3 clients a day, and it means that you're going to run out of this product really fast. You're not going to be able to, spritz it with alcohol. You're not going to use it for a long period of time. It's going to break, and I don't really see how people can use it long term. I mean, like, I don't really even think that this product is worth working on in their future batches and launches. So I'm coming to a conclusion that maybe they don't really have that many innovative products in the future. That is the main reason why they're willing to go back and to work on some formulas that not that good. I mean, it's a positive thing that they're willing to perfect formulas, which is good. I mean, this was the main idea, that if it really worth saving, they're gonna do some changes into that. But the worst part of it all is that when they went to the Los Angeles podcast, they mentioned that unfortunately they were already doing some changes in this product. So before people even had an idea to get this and to test this out, they were already reformulating this. So what is the rush? You're sending some very questionable products in terms of like, do we really need that? And then you are reformulating even before it actually hit the market. What is the point? You didn't hear the feedback, so you know that there's certain flaws. Why would you come out with a product that has so many flaws and you can actually see that? I mean, I don't really understand. I don't really get it. What is the point? What is the point to do that? And let me read you guys a couple of the comments that I received under my podcast. So I'm going to leave these comments and you're going to see that. They should have packaged colors separately. This is concern number 1 that people got over and over again because they actually had to dry them in some other containers or some other plates, and only then they could put them into container, because if they're wet, they're just going to mix together, and they did. The second concern, I think it would be good for makeup artists like professionals that do like weddings and things. They're small and flat, don't take up much space, and you get multiple colors. Also, I just might start using Oz for ounces. It's just another point, guys. But then my concern is that unfortunately you can't use it as a makeup artist because you cannot use any alcohol. I mean, that's a great point, but unfortunately you just can't. It's going to melt down. That is an issue, and that is a concern. And then I have a couple more. So this one is coming from Mary. Companies only get away with what we allow. Want to stop? Don't support them at all. Do your research and only spend your money on products with companies you and your values or morals align with. And if you can't find any. Either make your own or decide to be a trailblazer and refuse to take part in the overconsumption and consumerism. Kindly, and 36-year-old American woman. The other one, I would say IHXis Mediriers. Oh my god, guys, I'm so sorry. I mispronounce names. Kind of bold to say you're going to do something better after all the lab process and manufacturing failing to sell to big brands. But hey, I'm just as lowly chemistry graduation student. What do I know about lab processing and manufacturing? Also that horrible packaging, like that gum that comes in a roll. Maybe it would be better with the packaging and then you take a piece and do your mess or shake it. I don't really know. I should go back to studying. Well, I don't really think you should go back to studying. I think that give it a little bit more PR and you're gonna go and you're gonna do whatever you probably want. So these are the concerns. These are the videos that I found related to this topic. And what do you think, guys? I would really appreciate your comments and your feedback and give you a shout out in the maybe another podcast and just have a small discussion because there's still a hot topic and people that are not happy with their replies and the feedback is crazy. So let me know your thoughts. I love you all so much, and I'll see you in my next podcast. That's fine with me. Till next time, bye-bye.